Hey everybody, this is Sean, and I'm going to show you how to build a CRUD application. That's a database application that uses create, read, update, and delete. This is something that you do with SQL, something that's required in just about every program that will ever write. It's nice to know how to do it. We're going to do it with an SQLite database, which is a transportable database. Doesn't actually require a server. I'm going to copy and paste some code in this just for brevity, but I'll explain what it is that's going on all the time. So I'm actually using IntelliJ Ultimate for this. I would recommend that you get that. If you don't have it, you can get it with a student license if you're a student at the school, and it has a lot of features in it that we're going to use. Uh, the big thing is the Swing UI editor, which I think you can get in the community edition, but it's you got to kind of jump through some hoops to get it to work properly. We're just going to jump right in with a new project, and we're going to call this my database or my contacts. Okay, and idea IntelliJ. We're going to leave all this exactly the way it is. We're not going to go with any specific generators on here. I'm just going to go ahead and create it. You know what? I just did something I didn't want to do. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this main like that. Bam. We don't want any generated code for this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some stuff to here, and we're going to change some settings. So in our settings, we are going to go to our, let's see, our editor and our GUI editor, GUI designer here. We're going to change this to Java source code on form save. Otherwise, we won't be able to actually edit the code that it generates. We're going to do like that. And then we're going to add a driver to this. We have the ability to create data sources here. We don't have the ability for the program to read them. So we're going to go back in here to project structure, and we're going to go to libraries, and we're going to add a library from Maven, and we're going to look for SQLite, and do a search for that. And wow, there's a lot. Um, One we're looking for, 116. What are we looking for here? Origin syntax JDBC SQLite. I think probably org.opspack or pack. Um, Let me check something here real quick. What we're looking for is SQLite JDBC. Oh, Xerial. There we go. Xerial. Xerial dot SQLite dot JDBC. Let's do a search for that. See what we come up with. 116. Okay. Oh, this is the same stuff. Well, let's go for xeril dot sqlite dot jdbc. Xerial SQLite dot jdbc. Okay. Well, let's just go with one of these, I guess. Let's do the 1.4. And to. Okay. My contacts, okay. We're good. All right. So we now have those jar files in there. This is not the one that I originally used, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, so we got that library loaded now. Um, External libraries, there it is, good to go. So, first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to create a database. We're going to go in here, say create data source. Data source is going to be an SQLite database. And we're just going to leave the name as it is. We're going to create a table in here. Let's see. Boom, boom. Okay. And it's going to create us a database. Main tables one. We're going to go in here and create a new table. The table that exists in there is used by the driver to keep track of everything in here. We're going to call this contacts. Okay. And we're going to create some columns here. Create one column, and this is going to be contact ID. It's going to be an integer, auto incrementing. Everything else we're going to leave fine. And then we're going to go into keys, and we're going to create a key for this. All right. And we're going to right click here, primary key, and we're going to add that column we just created, which is only one in there, contact ID. All right. We're going to create another column in here, and this is going to be first name. And me. It's going to be text, and everything else is going to be normal. Oops. Oops. Let's get back in here again. We're going to create a new column in here. And new column and last name. And it's going to be text and okay to that. So this is going to be our primary column that everything's going to be based on. And, our primary, yeah, our primary table that everything's going to be based on. Everything else we're going to do is going to connect back to this. So we're going to be making a CRUD application, which is a limitless address book is what we're going to build. And pretty cool. I'm going to just show you the basics of how to do this, and then I'll show you a fully functional program, kind of like Julia Child's. I'm going to show you how to bake the cake, and then I'm going to show you a baked cake. So maximize this right here. We're going to start right out with creating a new UI form before we do anything else. And we're going to call this new contacts. New form name, new contact. Okay, good layout manager. And we're going to create a bound class for it. And there you have it. Boom. Got a panel to work with, got a form to work with. Pretty cool. We're going to go in here and we're going to give this panel a name. And it's going to be first panel one. One. And cool. We're good. So now we have a panel and we have, check this out, pretty cool, generated code for that panel. So we don't want to mess with anything that's in this right here. Anything in this method right here, we don't want to mess with any of that. We'll add some stuff outside of that here. But for right now, we basically just have a panel to work with. Back into here, we're going to add some components to this. We're going to add a label at the top. It says new contacts. New contact. Okay. We're going to add a label that is for first name. We're going to add one for last name. And when we're going to add some text fields. We're putting text in, so we're filling these in. This one's going to be called first name. And this one's going to be called last name. And we don't really want any text in these, but when you do it like that, it names this for you real nice. So we're going to take the text out of those. Make sure these are spelled correctly. Okay, cool. Next, we're going to add two buttons. We're just going to add one button. We're just going to add one button, and it's going to be called Save Contact button. So now we've got a form that we can launch, and we can actually take a look at that. Actually, we can right click and preview it. Basically, okay, cool. Doesn't do anything. That's just a preview. But here's the cool part. As we're doing all of this, in the background, look what IntelliJ is doing. It's generating all this really cool code. So this is all stuff that we really don't have to do ourselves. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to add a couple of things here. We've added a driver, but we also need to add some imports. And the big one here is going to be SQL. Java.sql dot, and we're just going to do all of the SQL stuff. Close that out. Cool. So at this point, what we need to do is, okay, so I had to turn the heater on. Sorry about that. What we need to do at this point is, you'll notice that this is it's not executable. We don't have a main method in here yet. So we're going to create that. We're going to do that the easy way. So PS VM, public static void main. Press enter, and there you go. You've got it. And check that out. It grabs the information that's up above that it knows about, because we already created this form and we have this panel. And you can just tab, and there you go. You've got your public static void main method right there. So if we hit the play on this, what we're going to get is hopefully our form. There it is. Took a little while to compile. Okay, there you go. Now we've got our form, our first name, our last name, and our saved contact. It's a little out of order, but this is not going to be a very pretty application. We're just going to do this real quick, and then after we're done with this, I'm going to show you what the final product is. I'll take the cake out of the oven, as Julia Childs would do. So we're going to go ahead and kill that execution there. And the next thing that we need to do is actually we need to create. Oh gosh, I always get confused. I can't remember between methods and constructors here. I think we just need to create a constructor at this point. Um, so what we can do is we can create. We need to be able to create a constructor and another method for actually storing the data in the database. Um, so first thing we're going to do is our constructor here. Let's see. We're going to generate a constructor, and we're not going to select anything. Bam. Okay. So we basically have to just start typing in what we want our constructor to, you know, what we want it to be associated with. And now we get our save contact button. Again, this is something that we created in the actual form, and it is able, smart enough to look up and go, well, hey, you got this form here with a button on there. So we're just going to go ahead and hit yeah on that. And then we're going to actually add action, add action listener. There it is. Boom. And add action listener. Um, action listener. Action event. There we go. Boom. Action event. Action event. Boom, boom. Okay. So now we've got our constructor, and it's going to actually start completing a whole lot of stuff for us here. But what we really want here, hold on a second here. Action event, action event. Okay, boom, boom. There we go. String first name, tap complete. I don't think we really want that quite yet. String first name text you'll get, text. What's it called? Actually, we just want this to. We want to. Let's see here. Hold on. Uh, we want to create a. Let's go in here. We want to save contact button is what we want to do. Okay, save contact button. Contact, save contact button. No, we've already got that part, don't we? Let me clean this up just for a second here. Um, this down like that. What we want to do is save a contact. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create something in here, and then we're gonna have it create a method based on that. Oh, and I lost a bracket here. Hold on. So we're just gonna name this save contact. Okay. And then you'll notice here we got a little red signal. This is because we don't have a method. We're going to call a method in here, but we don't have a method yet. So cool part, look at that. Create new method for us. So now we got a method. Private void save contact. Cool. And now we need to put in our logic that's going to actually save our database stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create some strings here. We're going to create some variables, and look at that. It automatically fills that in for us. So we'll go ahead and hit tab on that to get those. Unfortunately, it doesn't really know. I would think that with the driver and setting it up with the SQL import that it would figure this out, and probably the AI aspect of this can. But for now, we're just going to hand jam this in. And a lot of this is just going to pop up automatically for us. And again, this is all database stuff. You get used to doing this when you've done a lot of database stuff. I do a lot in PHP, and surprisingly, Java is a lot like PHP. It's just a little more strict and stringent on how you have to format certain things. So connection, boom. Um, con, we're just going to call it con. Equals. I haven't tried tabbing through these. I was just kind of familiar with these from other programming languages. So this is how we would do it in other languages like PHP. So we're going to driver manager dot get connection. Okay, and then we need our URL to our driver, and that's going to be what's it called? SQLite SQLite right. And then the name of the file, identifier.sqlite. Okay. Um, that I think is all we need on there. It just tells us what we're going to get connected to. Why this is showing up? Java driver, public static connection, get connection, not null, string, throws, etc. Add exception method signature. Oh, okay. Well, let's do that. Contact. Oh, and this is also really cool. I think it just loaded. I think when I did that, I think it loaded something else in up here. I could be wrong. I'm not sure what that actually did, to be honest with you. But right here, you'll notice that this is red. And the reason for this is that it knows that this is something that could fail. And so it wants to put a try catch around it. I think it'll work without actually putting a try catch around this, but we're going to go ahead and put a try catch around it because that'll give us an error in case something goes wrong. So we're going to go surround with a try catch. It's kind of cool. You could put the try catch down here around this, but if you put it up here, it's calling that so the try catch works here as well. Um, this for some reason doesn't look right to me. I think I need an E. I think it's just because of this. I need an E in there for some reason. This just doesn't look right. E action event. E. I think that's just an E. E. Action event E. Oh, well, yeah, okay. Well, that's the way I've always done it in the past anyway. Okay, so now we're back down here to our connection. We've got our connection set up. We need to close that out. And next, it's going to be, we need to create our statement. It's actually going to do the injection. All right. Now for that, we need a prepared statement. Now, this is basically just us taking and saying, hey, this is what you need to know for SQL to actually inject information. As soon as I hit enter on that, look at that. Is that cool or what? Completely auto generates everything it is that I need for this to work. That is super cool. I'm just going to hit tab and I think I'm done. Just like that. Sure looks like it. Holy cow, that's cool. Um, execute update. I thought it would just be execute, but looks like execute update. We're going to run this and see if it works. Okay, we've already created our database. We're good to go on that. Well, let's check our database, see if there's anything inside of here. Edit data. Nothing in there. Shrink that up. Go back to our new contact. I am getting some sort of red. What is this idea project source? Contact. Everything looks okay. Maybe it's a driver issue, but let's try it. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Oh, fingers crossed. And variable E is already defined in constructor new contact. So what did I do wrong with that? Let's see, variable action event E, SQL exception, navigate to previously declared E. Huh. Well, what did it want to put in there? It wanted to put in was it? Oh shoot. Action listener. Boom. Action listener one. I don't know. Action event. Action event. Boom. I thought it was supposed to be. Let's just have that, see if that works. Let's try it like that. Well, seems to be working just fine. Let's see. Let's put in our first name. I'm a little curious about the driver thing on here. Ah, no suitable driver found for SQL Lite. Okay. So basically, my driver import was not correct. So let me pause this and look at my driver and get that worked out. Okay, I don't know why, but I got weird results when I did this the last time. Let me back up and go through this whole thing right here. Let's see, we're going to close this. We're going to go into project structure. We're going to go to libraries. We're going to remove this one because this one did not work for us. Okay. And then we're going to add a new one from Maven, and it's Xerial, Xerial. Okay. Let's do a search for that. Yeah, and now it just pops up. Okay, so I think the one that I used was this one here. And we're going to say okay to that. We're going to add it to my contacts. That's fine. And then we're going to say okay. Now we're going to go ahead and try and run this. See what we get. There's our form. First name, last name, save content. No suitable driver found for. This is interesting. New contact Java. No suitable driver for skill. Identify skill light. Okay. Let me do some more research on this because this isn't right. What the fuck is going on here? Okay, so figured out what the problem was. I'd made a couple of small errors, and if I'd just read this down here, it would have told me what was going on. But basically, I had forgot to add this JDBC at the beginning of the connection string here. And I also, this thing actually generated my variable names incorrectly. It had an underscore in here between first and name, and also with last name too. After I got the proper, you know, the proper driver name in here, it came right back and said, hey, there's no such thing as first underscore name in there. So made those adjustments, and now everything's working just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this, show you guys if this works. And we'll go Sean. Now it's going to come up with an ID number, which I believe it might be correct. Okay. Failed to load class. What? Failed to load class org. JDBC SQLite identifier SQLite definition no operation no uplogger implementation. But let's look and see if it actually did something here. Uh, and there you go. Yeah, it did add a new ID in there because it already had one. So but I don't know exactly. I think this is just some informational stuff that it spit out. Failed to load one particular class, but everything else seems to be working okay. So basically, what we did is we created a database, we created a form for inputting information, and we actually created connected it with a driver so that the class, the main class could basically just take whatever we put into those two text boxes and stuff it into a database. Um, I'm going to pause this for a second, then I'm going to actually open up the final version of this, which does a lot more. It took a lot longer to build, but the thing that I really wanted to point out was if you build things in this way, because of the form, the IntelliJ interface, the IDE is able to figure out what code you're more than likely going to want in there. Sometimes it screws up, but you can always kind of pick through it. You can read through the error messages and see what's going on. So, and again, this is just to this whole thing is to demonstrate CRUD, which is create, read, update, and delete, which I think you're going to find as you start writing software and programs, especially for gathering of data, putting it into databases or reading information from databases. This is a really, really handy thing to know how to do because a good majority of programs, I'd say 90% of the programs that are out there, they have to be able to store data somehow, even in a flat file or a database server. Database servers are super, super critical to a lot of programs. Anything you buy online, it's going to be using this in the background to actually store whatever it is that you purchased, or video games use them to store stats, to store your position, all kinds of things like that. And database servers are very fast at retrieving that sort of data and organizing it. So give me 1 second to get things set up, and then I'll show you the overall program. Okay, so um, I built this all out into like a fully functional contact limitless address book, basically. And that's the name of the project. And I'll upload this if you guys want to grab it and pick it apart. But basically, this is just a project that I always tackle whenever I'm learning a new language. Because, like I say, CRUD is sort of my thing. I do a lot of CRUD applications to connect to various different types of databases out there: MS SQL, MySQL, Oracle, Postgres. Um, all of those are pretty essential components of a lot of programs. And sometimes you can harvest data out of programs to build like other little spin-off programs that are more specific to what users need. Um, and being able to write something like this, super, super cool. I mean, this can be ported to a phone, and the database is exposed on the network so that your devices like tablets, phones, computers can have access to it. And a Java application, of course, could run on any one of those, which is really, really neat. I generally build this sort of stuff with a web-based scripting language called PHP, but I'll probably start building more of these sorts of applications, especially for like phones. But you can see over here in our tree, basically every one of the forms that I created, that there is a bound class that comes with it. And we'll look through these for, look through a little bit, but let's go ahead and execute it. And I actually did this a little different. I created this main class just to launch everything, just made things a little easier. And I'll be honest, man, I created the forms, I got everything kind of working, and then I ran the AI assistant that's in this and had it go through and clean it up. And it added some really cool stuff, some neat things for errors and whatnot, so that people couldn't submit information if there was nothing in certain text boxes. And it figured all that stuff out. And it really, really did a great job of cleaning the code up. It kind of has to have something to start with. Otherwise, it'll make all kinds of weird things, stuff that just doesn't make any sense. If you give it a good outline of what you want your program to do and then show it your code, it will go through it and pick through it and clean it up and make suggestions to you. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I have to admit, I don't think that there's any way I could have done this without not written something that was actually usable anyway. So here you can see the contacts that actually exist in there. And this form is basically, it's just a list box with, a couple of actions that are associated with this delete and new contact. And we can go in and create a new contact. Let's create one for my dad. Okay, hit save, boom. And here you can see it automatically refreshes this. That's something that I hadn't figured out how to do, but the AI assistant helps me with. So if I go in here and I look at Glenn, I can double click on him. There's an event that's associated with that. This is kind of cool too. You can actually open multiple users at a time and work with them individually. So for phones, there is no phone entry for this person. So we're going to add one, and this is going to be their mobile phone, and we'll just use Hollywood phone numbers in here. And so now there's a phone address. We're going to add an address, or like a regular street address. And we're just going to be home and test, 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 CA, and test. Actually, let me look and see if this checks for numbers. Oh, no, it doesn't. That's something that I could actually add in there, so it would check to see if they're just numbers in there. Close this one down. So we just added a phone number and an address for Glenn, who is my dad. We'll go ahead and close that down. And yeah, we could do things like we'll go in here and select Crazy Karen and delete this contact. You get a warning about that. That's kind of cool. I didn't originally write that. That was something that AI suggested. So I'm going to say yes to that. Now that person's been removed from there. So we've added a new contact. We added an address. We added a phone number. Let's go and look at the database in here. And we'll go into the data source. And we're going to look at, first off, we're going to look at contacts, edit data. And here you'll see this is the information that I had typed into the form. Uh, Here's my dad. His ID is 10. So now if we go in and look at our addresses, you'll see here is the contact ID, which is 10. And here is the information that we put in for that. And then here is the phone numbers. We'll look at the data in there. And here it is. He's the only one that has any information in his. So we have also, this is the phone, this is the record ID right here. This is the contact ID that's associated with it. And then the application puts those two things together and displays all the information that is related to the contact table. So we could add other tables to this that could track other information than just build out forms, or add them to that tab, add another tab in there, the contact details, so that you could fill that information in. Maybe what they want for Christmas. Who knows? But the cool part about this is it is limitless. You can add as many addresses in there as you want. You can add as many phone numbers in there as you want. So it's completely expandable, and it's all done with Java and SQL. So um, again, this is just something that every time I got to tackle a language, I can relate to this. Originally, I was trying to work out some stuff for the uh, Minecraft, the mods for Minecraft. I didn't even know. I don't know. I haven't played Minecraft in forever. The scripting language that I was familiar with was for something called Minetest, and that was written in Lua, so I understood that. But it was really hard for me to wrap my head around how I was supposed to do that. But again, this is just an approach that I always use when I'm tackling a new language. So I hope this is helpful for you. If anybody has any questions, or if you're wondering how to actually connect to database servers, give me a holler. I'll show you how to do it. It's a pretty neat skill to have. And like I say, it comes into play in a lot of places. I write programs like this that connect to very large databases that manage like power and water conveyance. moving water and power around, and also in point of sale systems. They're huge on databases and job applications like this. So being able to understand how this works makes you very valuable when organizations say, "Hey, we've got this data. It's been gathered. It's in this database. We have this program that does that, but we would like to be able to extract data from there for other reasons. Like we want to get our customer addresses out of there, and it's a big pain for us to use the program that it was written for, but there is a database server that it writes it to. And in cases like that, you can come in and you just have to get some credentials and know what database server it is. You load up the right SQL drivers, and you could build them a really nice interface that would just retrieve exactly what they want. It would run on its own standalone. And I do a lot of that kind of work. So anyway, hope this was helpful. I hope it was entertaining. I thought about playing some music, but only so much time. So talk to you later, guys.